My name's Scotty. I've been living off the back of a motorcycle since 1994, spring of 1994, so that's what, it's 2014 now, so it's about 20 years. I've been on the road full-time, never staying in any one place more than 2 months. I travel the whole of the US, Canada, and Mexico. So, and I write a lot of stuff about that. If you're interested in any of the gypsy stories and all that stuff, you can Google my pen name, which is Tramp Scotty. Anyways, I was obsessed with bicycles as a kid, and then I went right to dirt bikes and then road bikes, and I've been on the road ever since. The bike that I'm sitting on right now has 521,000 miles on it, and I've owned 13 motorcycles. And for all the duration of this time, I do all my own mechanical work. So although I'm not a factory certified tech, I'm a pretty good wrench man. There ain't much I can't fix, okay? So I've kind of dedicated my life to the motorcycle. Everything, what you see here is everything I own. But what we're here to talk about today, of course, is since we're here at Legend Suspension, we're here to talk about shock absorbers. And so I want to talk about what I know about that. And I'm going to talk about FL shocks because that's what I ride. And this is what I know. The modern day FLs, the Road King, the Road Glide, and the Street Glide all use the same Shawa air shocks that came on this 1988 Electra Glide. Harley's not changed them, it's the same stuff. And even in the days of this even in 1988 when this bike was made, that suspension was considered to be rather poor. A lot of people would change it if they could or if they had the money to, because it's never really worked that well. Now these shock absorbers are 13 inches long, except the CVOs. The CVOs come with 12 inches, but the rest of the FLs come with 13-inch shocks. Now a 13-inch shock gives you 3 inches of travel. That means that back wheel can move 3 inches before it has to stop or it'll hit the fender, okay? Now, like a lot of us like to do, I've lowered my bike. So I put 12-inch shocks on here. The 12-inch shocks gives you 2 inches of travel, which really doesn't seem like much, especially since like a motocross bike got 13 inches front and rear, right? But then a motocross bike is motoing on a really rough track, okay? For regular road use, like most of us do, 2 inches is fine, provided that it's 2 inches that work, okay? And Jesse's shocks really work well. I had a set on here of shocks that were made for me that I ran for years, that were made by one of the leading performance motorcycle shock manufacturers in the world. And although they worked way better than the original shocks. If you think the original shocks are okay, try something else, you find out they're really not. They worked way better. They didn't work anywhere near as good as these do. Eventually, when I hit something really hard, the bike's gonna bottom out. And the shock's gonna bottom out. And what most all the shock absorber companies I've ever seen, is they use a rubber stopper so that when it bottoms, it hits with a thud. Except for Shawa. Shawa doesn't use any stopper. And if you've ever bottomed a set of them out, which is hard to do because they don't work much, you gotta hit something pretty hard, they hit with a metallic clang. It's like you hit, like you're hitting an anvil with a hammer. But what Jesse uses is, instead of using a regular rubber stopper because they're hard, he uses these really soft stoppers. I've never seen anybody use these before. So that when the thing finally does hit the bottom, what it does is it hits with a soft thud and it has a little bit more movement, you see? So I hardly really notice it when I hit the bottom on these things. You with me? So I've never seen anybody use that before. So if you have 13 inches of shocks, you're never gonna bottom out. But when you're just using road shocks, you want to hit bottom when you hit something hard, otherwise your suspension is not working. That's the bottom line, and that's about what I know about shocks, and hopefully I'll see some of you on the road someday.